Good afternoon, everybody. I guess that there will be other person coming in the room in a few minutes. I hope that it was quite easy for everybody to get in this session. As you know, this is the session on infrastructure for safety. My name is Francesca Latorre, and I'm here as the academic representative for infrastructures in ETRAC. We will immediately start. I hope that everything will go smooth. I have to say it's my first experience with this platform, but everything seems to be running really nicely. The structure of this session is that we will have first introduction by Claudia Ciuca from the European Commission, and then we will go on with the three presentations from three very interesting European projects on road safety, European funded projects. And at the end, we will have a time for question and answers. So please prepare yourself for some interesting and maybe picky question. Just remember, when you want to pose a question, to clearly state your name. Of course, I can see the name, but especially your organization, to understand your background and where the question comes from. So at this point, I will not take any more time, and I will leave the floor to Claudia. And she doesn't have a video, so she will just show up on screen, and I will close my screen. Thanks, Claudia. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Francesca. Hello, everyone. I hope that everyone can see me and hear me. As Francesca just mentioned, my name is Claudia Ciuca. I'm working for the European Commission, more specifically at INEA, Innovation and Network Executive Agency. I'm going to just take a few minutes of your time to introduce a little bit the settings for these three projects that were financed in 2016 under the call NG 3.4. Transport infrastructure innovation to increase the transport system safety. And in this context that everyone is aware that infrastructure plays a vital role in increasing transport safety and increasing transport safety levels, in particular road transport. In the last years, the resources available to maintain and upgrade the transport infrastructure have been declining, a phenomenon that is expecting to get worse and worse also due to climate change. And as a conclusion and as a result, the transport infrastructure are in deteriorating state and facilities are aging. So these three projects that were competing in 2013 will come to in the past 3.5 years, propose innovative solutions to meet these challenges. And you will be hearing about their results. All of them concluded this year. And so it will give you the possibility to see concrete results, concrete project innovations that transport owners, transport infrastructure owners, and not only can use the results. So please do ask questions to me or to the projects, and then I wish you pleasant event, and see you at the question and answer session. Thank you. Francesca?
Yes, thank you, Claudia. I actually was not supposed to switch on. So at this point, I will leave the floor to the first presentation, which is actually a video that you will see that is from the Safer LC project. So see you in about 10 minutes. So at this point, first of all, again, I would like to thank everybody. Let me try if I close this. Okay, better. Again, I would like to thank everybody for their presentations. And I would like to ask also Claudia, please, if you can pop up, also because one of the questions is yours. And maybe you can, I don't know if she's still there. Okay, so we have already a couple of questions. I have one myself too. Maybe I will write it in the chat so that everybody will be able to read it while everybody else is discussing. So at this point, I would, the two questions we have are both for Safer LC project. You can see them, everybody can see them on the chat section. It's under the everybody part. So the first is from Hole Adisun. I'm not sure I can spell it properly. It's Ole for everybody from Thurl. I think that probably everybody knows already him. And the question is, have you received any interest from rail authorities regarding using some of these 50 measures apart from the trials in Greece? If yes, what has been the response? Are the trials using taxis ongoing in Greece? So if you can respond to this question. And again, everybody who's not speaking, please switch off the microphone, myself included.
Good afternoon, Marie-Hélène Bonneau speaking. Thank you for this question. So yes, we got a lot of interest from railway authorities with the project, and we had many representatives of the railway authorities participating in the final conference, as well as the training on the toolbox that was organized at the end of the project. We also had bilateral exchanges with the ERA, the European Railway Agency, who showed a great interest in the toolbox. We have been contacted by the French Ministry of Transport, who made a report on the safety of level crossing using some of the results of Safer LC. So yes, we have a lot of interest from the authorities, and we have even dedicated deliverables to recommendation for the national authorities beyond the toolbox itself with all the solutions. So regarding the question on the trial in Greece, I cannot tell you if right now the tests are still ongoing, but I know that the CERT who was involved in this test, as well as trainers, are willing to make a second session of test to go further and to get more information. So perhaps it's already ongoing, but I don't have the response, but I can request them if it's ongoing at the moment, or if when they are planning to do it. I know they wanted to do it. So that's it for the answer.
Here I am again. I was responding to one of the questions. Please all remember, in this case, it was quite evident. Again, it was Safer LC, but please remember to state also the project you're referring the question to. So let's go to the second question again for you. And that's from Claudia. Claudia, if you want to pose it yourself, as far as you're online, that would be easier.
Yes, just trying to unmute my microphone. I was thinking to, is it okay, the sound? Yes. To ask you, what are the next steps that you are preparing to do for the standardization? I know that you proposed the technical specifications and for the standardization, legal aspects and frameworks. So I was hoping after now the project is finished, do you still plan to continue this work regarding the standardization aspects?
Alors, thank you for the question, Claudia. For the standardization aspect, on UIC side, we have a working group who is dealing with level crossing. So perhaps they will come with a technical specification and propose some, we call it IRS at UIC, which is International Railway Solution, which is a first step. It's I would say standardization for our members, for railways, but could lead further to further standardization by standardization bodies. There is one aspect in standardization which was also addressed by some of the partners, especially SMEs involved in the standardization bodies regarding G5 and V2X messages, and the need to include the train as an element of the messages in the communication between train and road, because for now it's mostly it's mostly car and road related, but the specificities of the train are not included. So it was also an idea to develop this standardization message and include the train specificities in this V2X messages. So these are some plans for some standardization in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. There is a question from Arrate Alonso Gomez. Which projects are you referring to? Just there is a standard being developed again, CFLC. So it's a sort of a point for the discussion. So Arrate Alonso Gomez, before going to the last question, says ITS, there is a standard for being developed for trains, the Wi-Fi 802.11bd compatible. If you can give a feedback on that before moving to the last question. Just because you said there were no standard for rates, for RAID.
For ITS, there is a standard. It's being developed at the moment, in fact, and some of the partners from Safer LC are involved in this in the standardization body with the development of the standard. Okay, perfect. And again, just before we close with Safer LC at the moment, there is another question for you from Matiron from MHR. What seems to be suggested approach for the rail level crossing? So many please, if you're not speaking, close your microphone. We have a feedback. It says so many systems have been defined, not many increasing a lot of the benefits. If you can just, in few words, so that we move to the other projects, if you can just give him a feedback on the suggested approach for rail level crossing. In fact, there is not one solution for better protecting level crossing. It's a combination of a solution depending on the risk assessment at the level crossing that can be applied, and there is not one solution that fit for every cases. We really need to combine different solution, soft, technical solution, and to base it in the risk assessment at the level crossing, since there are so many level crossings that you need to focus on the one which are the hotspot. And the methodology for the risk assessment is really important to define which level crossing and how to equip the level crossings that have been selected in the risk assessment to better protect them, depending on the environment and the specificities of the level crossing. Thank you.
So let's move to I was myself writing down some questions. Let's move to Safe TNT. Again, I have a question from Claudia. So Claudia, if you want to pose it yourself.
Yes, I am bombarding you with questions today because this is the last time I will have you around. Sorry, but just for Paul, because we are now in discussions. But in order, I know that the DST is used. It was used during the project, but after the project is finished, are you going to continue to feed the database with information? Is anyone going to still continue to use the support tool?
Yeah, so we're getting a lot of interest from both the transport infrastructure owners and operators, as well as people that interface with the transport networks. So, for example, in some countries we have canals and railways that are kind of interlinked and interwoven, and the risks from one to the other are becoming worse as climate change kind of leads to increased rainfall events and so on. And we've seen that in the last 12 months. There's been a number of failures that have kind of put increased focus on this. And as a result, everyone is looking for a scientific approach to kind of manage their risk. while still dealing with the budget restrictions that they had previously. And that really lends itself to kind of decision support tool type approaches, because it's not a definitive answer. It's a process and a framework that helps manage the risk. And that's what we've done coming together in the decision support tool for this project. I think one of the challenges is when you say kind of increasingly feed it with more data and more information, it needs to be done in the context of a specific network or a specific end user, which kind of leads itself to kind of bespoke development of the tool. So going forward, yes, we will continually upgrade it, but it's going to be along the lines, I think, of a number of kind of bespoke developments to suit individual owners and operators as well.
Okay, thank you. So now I have personally, I have a question for SafeStrip, and there is another one on the floor, so I will start with mine. And actually, I understood that Maria will be responding. Let me first, I see Maria is already ready for responding, but let me just repeat the question for everybody. I found it very, I work a lot with this type of experiments, and I found it very, very interesting, the fact that you decided to send back and forth the demonstrators, because very often it's difficult to compare results from different countries because too many variables are involved. And I just wanted to understand a little bit better, because demonstrators, as I understood, if it's correct, it's both the drivers and the vehicles. So my question was, if you went back and forth with the vehicles themselves or only with the drivers? And if not, what were the differences between the vehicles in the different countries, if you did account for that?
Yes, indeed. So thank you very much. Good afternoon from my side. Indeed, can you hear me? Great. Okay, so indeed there were some research demonstrators transferred back and forth. There were the ones from our side, from CERT in Greece, that were sent back and forth to Spain, because exactly we wanted to eliminate the bias, because those research demonstrators were CITS equipped. We had, in addition, some very similar to them demonstrators from CRF in Italy. But in Spain, we decided to transfer back and forth ours. No, it was not also the drivers that were transferred. Actually, this was the original plan, that half of the drivers would be the same. But it was not possible due to COVID, to be honest. So we had to change the plan, and but we managed at least to transfer the demonstrators. However, the challenging was not that. The challenging part was that for SafeStrip infrastructure consists of several strips, we call them, that is hardware accompanied by software platforms that are installed on the pavement, plus the peripheral equipment, the roadside bridges, we call them, for the communication. And all those, together with the energy harvesting units, were also traveling back and forth from Greece to Italy, from Italy to Spain, from Spain to Greece. So all this infrastructure in reality was traveling all the time. And this is why it was challenging, because, of course, this is not the anticipated commercial deployment. So we had to make sure that it is robust enough to adhere to this traveling, let's say.
Thank you very much. And I don't know who of you two will respond, but you have another question from the floor, from Sebastian Kosul from Norway.
Yes.
And the question concerned the fact that Arctic environment, or generally speaking, Scandinavian countries' environment is quite different. So he was asking if the SafeStrip concept is developed also for them. And in the case, how will the frequency repayment affect the functionality of cost of your system?
I would just say thank you for the question in my behalf, but I will leave to Maria to answer. But it's quite interesting question, I have to say.
Yes. So yes, of course, in the requirements, we from the beginning anticipated a variety of temperatures, of course, and operational conditions. So the platforms are designed and developed in order to cover a range starting from -70 degrees of Celsius, I mean. So theoretically, they are designed for Arctic environments as well. Still, we did not have concrete pilot sites that come from there, from Scandinavia, in the project. So for sure, before any deployment, any further deployment, more field trials have to take place. Regarding the reinstallation, the removal of this, one of the most innovative parts of this infrastructure is the fact that it allows to install without digging in the infrastructure. It is installed on the surface of the road pavement. This is why it was so much challenging. So the encapsulation and the way of integration is done in a way that the operator does not need to distort, let's say, its infrastructure. So the reinstallation is equally somehow easy. Of course, in most cases, but it depends on the configuration that you will decide to install, the strip has a lifetime of 2 years, but it cannot be used again because it depends also on the way of reinstallation, but in general, we could say that. Still, the cost is very small, which makes it very cost efficient because the goal is to replace key infrastructure elements that are very expensive, like the VMS, like the toll stations. So the cost is very, very minimum regarding them, even including installation and reinstallation costs in a 2 years frequency.
Okay, if there are no other questions, I have another question, I guess, again from Maria. What is the amount of data and the management of the data? One of the problem I have with road authorities is that they have a huge amount of data and enormous problems in managing those data. Did you think about how to manage this very big flow that will arrive?
What do you mean data in this case, in specific? Data coming from the infrastructure, for example? I cannot hear you, I think. I think I missed you. I don't know if you missed me as well.
Francesca, did you mute your microphone?
But I can hear Claudia.
Okay, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, sorry. I think I muted the microphone thinking you were replying, and then I had to unmute it. I was just thinking.
No, I think I didn't.
These devices produce a huge amount of raw data, and if you don't decide in advance how you want to store them, to sort of classify them, at the end you have a huge amount of data, and it will be a problem for road authorities to manage them. I was just thinking if you thought about the post-processing of this information.
I see. However, it is true that this is true, but one of the research parts, let's say, of the project was exactly the data recognition, the clustering of data, the definition, the decision of the specific messages. In some cases, we had to customize as well, of CATS that we would use, how we are going to store them, and which third parties they would be communicated and where they would be maintained and how. So indeed, this is one of the most demanding parts. It is important that we had to take into account the current routines and the current operating systems of infrastructure operators. So we made a cloud infrastructure where they would subscribe, and in order not to distort their current systems in reality, because we have to respect them. Still, the data classification, definition, and then classification and storage was one of the jobs of the project for the specific infrastructure, at least.
Okay, thanks. Great. At this point, we are 3 minutes in advance, but I would like to ask even the other speakers. I mean, you're all researchers. thank you, Claudia. Claudia's leaving because she's going to make the brief presentation out of this session. Thank you very much, Claudia. Your help has been really precious as usual. Good luck in the summary. And if anybody also in the speakers have a final question, we have approximately 2 minutes left before we close, or if not, I will just leave everybody the time to move to another session. So just let me know. You have like a few seconds to tell me, otherwise I will call it a session, I would say. Okay, I don't see anyone with a... Maria, did you want to say anything?
No.
So
because we have done actually a lot of cluster meetings with the other projects, so we have made our questions.
Okay. So at this point, I would like to thank all the attendees. We had at a point about 45, 46 persons in the room. I think it was my first experience, but I think it was quite successful. So let's try. We will have a few months in which we will have to do the same thing, I guess. So why not? Thank you to everybody, and have a nice rest of the conference. And just please, once you move to what they call the lobby, please go to one of the sessions to make them interesting, as this one was. Goodbye to everybody.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Visit us in the online exhibition if you want to learn more, of course.
Of course, and go to the websites and download all the reports.
Yeah.
Goodbye to everyone.
Bye, Francesca.
Thanks, Francesca. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye.